Chapter 2.7 and 2.8, Multiplying and Dividing Rational Numbers. So how do we multiply and divide rational numbers? Well, in general, you would use the same sign rules as you did when you worked with integers. So for example, a positive value times another positive value is equal to a positive answer. A negative times a negative is also equal to a positive answer. Whereas a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative will both equal negative answers. So here are a few examples to get you to practice using your calculators but working with rational numbers at the same time. So now would be a good time to pause the video and try these questions on your own using your calculators before you check your answers. Alright, so in the first question, you're asked to multiply and then round your answer to 2 decimal places. So in the first question, A, it says 1.38 times negative 0.53. So in this question, because you have a positive times a negative, you would assume that your answer will be a negative 1. So when you punch this in your calculator screen will show negative 0.7314. However, you're asked to round to 2 decimal places, therefore the digit you wish to round is the 3, so that you will have 2 decimal places. The digit immediately following the 3 is a 1, which is below 5, so therefore the 3 stays as is. Your answer would be negative 0.73. In the second question, you have a negative times a negative. On your calculator screen, it would show, of course, a positive answer, 36.774. In this case, the second 7 is the digit you wish to round. The digit immediately following is a 4, so therefore it's 5 and under. So the 7 stays as is. You get 36.77. In the division question, you're asked to divide and then round your answer to 1 decimal place. So you have a negative 7.5 divided by negative 4.3. It should equal a positive answer, so therefore 1.74418 is what you get in your calculator screen. Of course, it wants you to round to 1 decimal place, so therefore the 7 is the one you wish to round. The next digit over is a 4, so that's below 5. Therefore, the 7 stays as is. 1.7 is your answer. Now in this last question, you have negative 11.14 divided by pi. Now anytime you're dividing by pi, you should use the calculator button pi, which gives you a little bit more accurate number for pi rather than just using 3.14. So therefore, when you punch this into your calculator, it will be a negative answer, negative 3.54597. You wish to round to 1 decimal place, so the first 5 is the one you wish to round. The digit immediately afterwards is a 4, which is below 5 once again, so it rounds to negative 3.5. So here's another example using rational numbers in the form of m over n. Now in these examples that you're going to be working with, it wants you to evaluate but leave your final answers in the form of m over n as well, and it also wants you to show your equivalent fractions. So once again, now would be a great time to pause the video, give these questions a try before following on with the video and checking your answers. So referring back to the rules you worked with when you learned to multiply fractions in the multiplying fractions video, to multiply fractions, as you may recall, you need to multiply the numerators together, then multiply the denominators together. So in this case, you have 2 times the 4, which is an 8. You have a 3 times the 5, which is a 15. But both fractions are negative. So a negative times a negative is a positive. Therefore, we have positive 8 over 15. In question B, you have negative 1/4, even though it's written as 1 over negative 4, it's equivalent to negative 1/4. Now, this one's a division question, so as you may recall, to divide fractions, you need to invert the second value and change it into a multiplication question. So therefore, we have negative 1/4 times the reciprocal of 3, which is 1/3. So I'll write that out as is. 1 over negative 4 times 1 over 3. So that is my equivalent fractions. Multiplying that out, the top by the top is 1, bottom by the bottom is negative 12. 1 over negative 12 is my final answer. In part C, I have 5 times negative 6 over 5. Now recall that 5 is really 5 over 1. Okay? So when you multiply the numerators, 5 times negative 6, that is negative 30. And then the denominators, 1 times 5. Oh, so I've written those out once again. Multiplying the numerators, it's negative 30. Then over 5. Now this one reduces, so anytime a fraction reduces, you always make sure you do that. So negative 30 divided by 5 is negative 6. And finally, we have 3 over negative 2 divided by negative 4 over 3. So once again, it's a division question, so I need to invert the second fraction. So I'll rewrite this as 3 over negative 2 times 3 over negative 4. Multiplying the numerators, 3 by 3 is 9, and negative 2 by negative 4 is of course positive 8. So 9 over 8 is my final answer. Now how do we convert negative mixed numbers into improper fractions? Well, my general rule of thumb that I tell students is you first of all ignore the negative sign. Then you need to multiply the denominator by the whole numbers that is sitting up front and add that to the numerator. That number then becomes your numerator, and then it's over the previous denominator that you have. Then all you need to do is replace the negative sign. So if I just make up an example right now, if I had something like negative 4 and a half, and I want to convert that into a improper fraction, well, I first of all need to cover up that negative sign. So I happen to have a little hand over here, so I'm going to cover that negative sign up, and then I multiply the denominator, 2 times the whole number 4, which gives me 8, add the numerator, which is 1, so therefore it gives me 9. So that becomes my numerator over my previous denominator, which was 2. So I get 9 over 2. Now what I do is I remove my hand here, because I got to remember that this was actually a negative fraction. So I put the negative sign back. I really have negative 9 over 2. So here I have a couple examples to get you to practice converting the negative mixed numbers into improper fractions. So take a pause and try these out for yourself. Okay, so if I borrow my hand from before and cover up the negative sign, like so, I multiply the 3 by this 2 here, that gives me 6. Add the numerator, that's 8. So 8 over then 3. Don't forget, I got to remove my hand here, so I got to put the negative sign back, and therefore I have negative 8 over 3. The second question, I'm just going to cover this guy up to begin with. 5 by this 4 is 20. Add 4 is 24. So I get 24 over 5. I'll remove the hand, put the negative sign back, so I have negative 24 over 5. Not too bad. Alright, so here are some more examples that involve mixed numbers that happen to be negative, but also involving the operations as well. So, once again, take a pause and try these out for yourself before checking out the answers. Okay, so 1 2/3, first of all, convert that into an improper fraction. Don't forget, the second fraction, need to convert that as well into an improper fraction. However, it's a division question. So the first thing I'm going to do is do the conversion. So the first fraction converts to 5 over 3. The second one is a negative one, so converts to negative 7 over 2. Now remember, because it's a division question, I need to invert that second fraction, then multiply. So I get 5 over 3 times negative 2 over 7. Multiplying top by top, bottom by bottom, I get negative 10 over 21. Following the same method as I did in the first question, I convert the fraction, the mixed number, into an improper fraction. Now negative 2 is really negative 2 over 1. So I've changed this. Well, this one was already multiplication, so that makes things a little bit simpler. Multiplying the top by the top, I get negative 46 over 4. Of course, don't forget, always reduce if that's possible. Both numbers are even in this case, so it's going to divide by at least 2. So in this case, divides by 2, negative 23 over 2. Question C, negative 8. Remember, that's negative 8 over 1. So I just rewrote that like so. Then negative 8 times negative 5 would be a positive 40. Over the bottom, 1 times 2 is 2. So therefore 40 over 2 reduces to 20. Now anytime you get a whole number like that, that's 20 over 1, you don't need to write the over 1 bit, okay, when you simplify. So just simply leave it as the whole number. And finally, the last question, converting both fractions or mixed numbers into improper fractions. They're both negatives, so I get negative 17 over 6 divided by negative 4 over 3. That's a division question, so I'm going to invert the second fraction and change it into a multiplication question. Multiplying the numerators together and multiplying the denominators together, I get positive 51 over 24. And this one will also reduce because they both divide by 3, so I get 17 over 8. So hopefully this video has helped you to understand how to multiply and divide rational numbers. Much of the rules are very much the same as when we worked with multiplying and dividing regular fractions. However, you're also throwing in the idea of being able to multiply and divide positive and negative numbers as well.